Good to see you.
Hey Revenants, welcome back to Code Vein, and today, boy oh boy, do we have a doozy for you guys today. Welcome to class. Get out your notebooks and your pitchforks and let's go on a journey here with the Boreal Brute. So this fella, as we analyze him, he has a lot going on. So we'll just kind of run through kind of phase one here. We'll kind of show some things and then we'll talk about his second phase. Yes, he is one of the very few mini bosses that we do have here in the game that does indeed have a second phase, and he can go back and forth between phase 1 and phase 2, and it is your job to basically survive phase 2, and we'll talk about that later as well. So first of all, he obviously has defenses to slash, pierce, and crush. In phase 1 here, he has 0% resist to slash and pierce alike, so doing regular slash attacks, no defense, and doing pierce attacks, no defense. So make sure you are doing pierce and slash here in phase 1 without his ice armor. He does have a 25% resist to crush, so anything hitting with the crushing blows, he will resist 25% of that, so you definitely do not want to be going for crush in phase 1 when he's just a regular boy. Now he's very fast. He typically has a 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 swing combo. All of his moves are parryable except for the roll across the arena where he zooms in ball form, kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog, and that is the non-parryable attack, that one right there. And he kind of can do anything he wants at any point in time. And even that attack, if you stand right in front of him, you can parry it. But he is kind of difficult to parry because he's so fast. And and I didn't get the parry there. But he is very fast, as you can see. He zooms everywhere, and he's very hard to keep up with. And it's in your best interest to basically get up on him close and continue moving left or right across his side paths, because typically his swings will not strike you if you are constantly moving in a circle around him. However, that becomes pretty difficult to deal with. So let's go ahead and get our defenses here so we don't die. As you can see, we don't take any damage. And let's see if we can get him into a position here where we can get a backstab, because it's pretty difficult to find it. There we go. And as you can see, the backstab comes in right down here around the right cheek, around the right thigh, and it's kind of about a full revenant's width away from his back, but you don't want to be going for the center or the back left leg. You want to be going for the right thigh here, more or less, and it's fairly difficult to obtain, and it is usually happening not in an ideal way. So, oh, there we got it, because he was jumping away. He created some nice distance there for me, which was nice that I could go ahead and get some damage. And there's another one. So that was a little more centered than the others were, but you can see still it's always best to get a backstab during his power-up phase into phase 2, because then you will stop his ice armor phase 2 animation altogether, and you actually prevent him from putting the ice armor on. So that's the best, most opportune time to get a backstab, is during that phase transition. Okay, so during phase 2 though, his his physical defenses go in reverse kind of order. So where he had worse defenses in phase 1, he gets better defenses in phase 2. So his slash and pierce, they go to 80% resistance, and so you're doing almost no damage. Only 20% of your damage is getting through, and that's after all of your buffs and everything. And also his crush resistance goes up to 60%. So he has better crush in phase 2, worse slash and pierce, and in phase 1 he has better slash and pierce and worse crush. So kind of pick your poison however you want to do that. Whatever you want to, do you want to stick with Slash in phase 1 just because you could prevent his ice armor? So on and so forth. So that's up to you guys. You keep that in mind though. For his elements, he does have some very, very nice surprises here with his elements. In phase 1, he has a 0% blood resist. So for using blood weapon, I get a straight up 20% increase because I'm using a blood buff, and he doesn't defend that at all. For fire, he has a minus 30% resist, so fire is king here on him. If you guessed that, that seems kind of obvious, but Vayne is something that's not intuitive, and so I'm going to tell you outright, he has a minus 30% weakness to flame or fire. He has a minus 20% to lightning. So fire, lightning, that right here, if you do fire and lightning, that's 20%, 40%, and then between the fire and lightning weaknesses, you get an additional 50%. So you're almost doubling all of your damage by using these two buffs just outright on him in phase 1. So definitely run at him with fire, definitely run at him with lightning, and you should do well. For ice, he has a 70% ice resist, and this gets weird, wacky, and crazy in phase 2. We'll get to that in a second. So in phase 1, if you are going for blood, you will get the basic 20% increase, and if you go for fire and lightning as well, you will get some crazy, crazy damage output here. Okay, so let's go for some gifts here, and I'll show you what I mean. So we are now more than doubling our regular sword attack damage, and as you can see there, we're getting like, several thousands per hit, and that is just to regular element buffs here. So it's pretty awesome just how much damage you can get out just because of the idea of going for the element buffs here. Okay, we're out of elements. Okay, let's get them going again. Let's see what he's gonna do. Okay, and you can see how much damage we're taking here. We would definitely be dead if he was actually hitting us, just because of how he operates. Okay, and we got the double slash there accidentally, so we killed him immediately. So you can see how fast just these 3 element gifts go through his health pool here very, 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 very fast. So that's what you want to be doing for the elements, and you want to kill him fast in phase 1 before he gets to phase 2. Once he gets to phase 2, you have an entirely new set of physical defenses and element defenses. So in phase 2, he has a blood resist of 60%. He has a fire resist of 40%, so he no longer has a weakness. He's now resisting fire. And he has a 50% lightning resist. Now, for his ice resist in phase 2, in his ice armor form, he has 120% ice resist. So the reason that's important as a number to know is because frost weapon gives you 20% increase to your weapon damage, but because he's doing 120% defense, so it's 1 plus 0.2 minus 1.2, and so that factor of the damage calculation turns that factor to 0, so it doesn't matter what your damage output is, it's all multiplied by 0. So if you have frost weapon active in phase 2, even if you're paired with Jack and whatever, you'll do 0 damage, because that factor is 1 plus 0.2 minus 1.2 makes a 0, multiplied by everything else gives you 0 damage output. So that's why that 120% ice resist in phase 2 is important, because this is a zeroing factor. So if you want to go above 120% ice damage, then you have to use a frost cartridge or a charge attack from one of the DLC weapons, or an innately ice weapon like the ice blood, to get above that 120% ice resist. So I don't know if I need to tell you this, but I'm going to. Don't use ice, don't use frost damage versus him at all. It will make for a worse nightmare than you can imagine. So In phase 1, his defenses, you will need 160 ice defense for phase 1, and fortunately we are right there with ice armor. So here we're at 144, and then we have a cartridge. So I'll show you here. We still take a little bit of damage, and if he can hit me now, there we go. We take a little bit of damage. Now if I add my armor here, my ice tonic, you can see that we're still at 2586. None of his attacks do any damage. Okay, can't launch this guy. Nope. We need to do something a little different. So you can see here that going for the 160 mark is exactly where you want to be. Now if I could get him launched or backstabbed here, we'll get him to phase 2. So remember, in phase 1 you want to go for 160 on your ice defense, and let's see what he does here. Oh no, he's zooming away. And in phase 2 it does change. Oh, whoops, unfortunately I got a backstab there. I wasn't trying to do that, but maybe he'll stand up here. Okay, he was gonna charge, so this is fine. Now, when he does get focused, he has a very, very exciting commitment to getting his ice armor. And now you'll notice that our ice resist is 225. We are up over 220, and that is the threshold breaking point for being invincible in phase 2. If you are below 220, you will be met with certain destruction, as he hits exceptionally hard in phase 2. And let's go ahead and get ice armor going, and even for his icicles you are still invincible to these. So let's dodge that. Let's get elemental wall going, and good. Now we will take damage from his regular attacks, and we are now below 220. We're at 205. So come on. There we go. Maybe he'll hit us. There you go. You can see that we are now taking damage, and then we go for this and we no longer take damage. So you want to be up over that 220 range for being fully invincible in phase 2 here, and that's how that changes from phase 1 to phase 2. Okay, the double shockwaves are always fun. So yeah, you want to make sure that you have at least 220 in phase 2. So keep that in mind. For his status debuffs, he is only weak or only susceptible to poison damage. And so you want to, if you're going for any kind of status effects or ailments, you definitely want to be going for Venom at all possible. Now, because he is counted as a basic enemy in the game, he takes Venom at 3% for 10 seconds. So he is susceptible to very, very fast Venom. And we'll just hit him a couple times here, and you'll see just how much of his health is ticked away as he is kind of paralyzed here with backstabs and things. You can see the health ticking off there. And even when he is in a buff state, he will still take the full 3% of his health for 10 seconds for a total of 30% of his health. And you can see just how beneficial that is. And he even takes the Venom when he is in armor state. And so as you can see here, we really have no weapon damage at all to speak of. And because Venom is pretty devastating to him, it works for a very, very good deterrent to, if you can't get through his armor, then that's a great way to take him down. Just get him venomed up, and then you should be completely fine. Now here at max difficulty, he does have 55,433 HP, so he's kind of the matching annoyance to the Mudgorger as well. And at minimum difficulty at 0 star, he has 17,367. So he is kind of a super mini boss when you do meet him in the Ridge of Frozen Souls on your first playthrough. Now, to eliminate his ice armor, it will take you about 1 to 6 weapon attacks to actually knock it off. Now that depends on whether you're using Slash, Crush, or Pierce. If you are trying to knock off his armor, you definitely want to go for Crush. It will knock it off faster in fewer attacks. And if you are going for just, keeping the same thing going, then you will want to go for the just any weapon you want. Now, there is a difference between having a fire weapon and having flame weapon active. So let's see that here as we go through. Whoops. As we go through his phase 2 ice armor knockoffs here. There are several ways to knock it off. The best way to do it, obviously, is with fire things. And we'll go through that, but there's a big difference between a fire weapon and flame weapon, and so we'll see that here as we get him to, or as we encourage him here to go to phase 2. Can you transition, please? Yes, there we go. Okay, so now we will not go for flame weapon. We will just go for the fire weapon that we have here. Okay. And you can see that we cannot knock it off in a very good amount of attacks. We were able to knock it off. However, if we get him back to back to ice armor. So now let's go ahead and apply flame weapon. And you'll see that that was 4 attacks. And then we're dying here. Okay. There we go. And there we go. So it's fewer attacks when you do have the flame weapon active on your actual active weapon, but you can knock it off with a fire weapon itself. So keep that in mind as well. Now, if we switch to the to like a crush weapon, I will show you that here as well. That you will knock his armor off in much fewer attacks than a one-handed sword. I prefer to go for the crush weapons myself, just because of their super good effect versus his ice armor. They do excellent damage versus his ice armor as well, and you're able to get rid of his ice armor very easily when that calls for it. Okay, let's get a backstab. That should encourage him to get his armor up and going. We'll go for an antifreeze tonic. Okay, we'll cancel out his animation here, and then he should transition here. Okay, good. We are invincible there. Yep, get your ice armor. Okay, and now we will go for flame weapon, and whoops, there's 1 and 2, and so you can see that it's much faster going for the ice armor knockoff with a crush weapon. It goes much faster. It also matters. Oh, I staggered him. Okay, and here we'll go 1, 2. And he's lost his armor again, and that's great because also we get our better defenses for his ice defense as well. So it's in our best interest to go for, keeping that armor knocked off as much as possible, just because of the fact that I don't want him doing anything. So going for a crush weapon is the ideal way to go. Now, there are many other ways to knock off his armor, namely gifts, other gifts like casting gifts. So we are doing light here, so we will go for flame spike and flame barrage, and obviously crush gifts are very good for knocking off his armor. And one of the very good ones is Ember Reversal, as well as Dancing Blaze is not so great. Firestorm does pretty well, as well, which is kind of shocking because, you know, it's Firestorm. And so let's head on back, and we will knock off his armor with some gifts now, and you can see how effective those are versus what he has to offer here. So the Boreal Brute is, you know, definitely one of the longer encounters that you can kind of come up against. Ouch. And if you understand him, it kind of just, you know, ends him pretty quickly overall, just because of the fact that you know, he doesn't really have too many surprises. He does basically the same thing over and over and over and over. And so that's really, really nice, but at the same time, he's a pretty difficult boss overall, or a mini boss. Even though it's like, you know, he's an actual crazy boss here. Okay, we'll get our ice going here, or yeah, our defenses here. And that's the best way to go against him, is to simply just go for, whoops, okay, is to simply go for ice defense. Okay, so now let's go for Firestorm. There's one Firestorm, two Firestorms. Now you do need a little bit higher dark value than what I have right now, because we're not doing as much damage as we would need to. Whoops, and that time I just whiffed it completely. Ouch. Okay, and as you can see, we're not doing a whole lot of damage here. So let's go ahead and knock him around here a little bit. Okay, and let's get in there with a... There we go. We knocked off his ice armor, which is very, very nice. And as you can see, it really does depend, you know, how much damage you're doing along with it, because it is a damage cap leveling, but it does require you to actually do some kind of damage while at the same time having that fire element part of it. As you see there, we didn't actually knock his ice armor off. There we didn't either. There we didn't either. There we did. So in the end, it's just best to go for crush weapons typically, and you can knock off their armor pretty easily over and over and over if you are using a crush weapon, and especially if you have a flame weapon to go along with it. It makes for a great way to go about getting these guys into a position where you can actually do some damage overall, because you're constantly knocking his armor off, you're constantly staggering him around, and you're able to, you know, do some damage at a distance. Okay, and there we'll bring him out of his ability there, and then we'll go for a little bit of gifting. But yeah, if you're gifting, you can knock his gifts off, or knock his armor off pretty easily if you are going for some gifts. Now, I had a light veil on here, so these two weren't working that well. If you have a dark gift or a dark veil on, it knocks the armor off much faster. So anyways, that's the Boreal Brute. Just make sure that you keep all this in mind, right? When you're fighting him. He is a doozy. You definitely have a bad time every time you come across these guys. But to kind of rehash what you probably would want to be doing, well, definitely blood, fire, and lightning in phase 1. When he has no armor, you want to be above 160 for phase 1 ice defense, and you want to be above 220 for phase 2 ice defense. And if you can swing it, definitely go for a crush weapon. Even though you do take the reduced damage in phase 2, you will have less of a reduction as if you're using slash and pierce. But slash weapons, I would say, are pretty good to go for, unless you're doing halberds, and then going for chariot rush will be absolutely devastating. And if you do chariot rush with blood, lightning, and fire, it will absolutely rip him in half. And so if you bring Jack along, even for more damage along the way, you will absolutely destroy this guy in a matter of just a few seconds because of how powerful that would actually turn out to be. So something like this, the Impaler, or the uh, the Black Halberd would be a great option here. But let's see what this does here to him. Blood, fire, and lightning. And yes, those, and then we will go for Jack.
Good work.
Thanks. And then let's see. That sounds pretty good for right now. And sure, we'll go for a gift extension, and then we'll buff up power up here, and we will be on our way. So if we go for halberd mastery, and then we'll go for Taylor here. Okay, so we're going this way. Jack's like getting killed already. Okay, so and then we will go for blood sacrifice, and let's go. Let's see how to get it here. Okay. Okay, and we're gonna have to buff up here quite a bit, but that's completely fine. We should have plenty of time here to go for all the things.
What a waste of time.
Okay, Jack, whatever. Okay, good. And let's go for Chariot Rush. Where is it? Here we go. And let's go.
Stay focused.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, and that's him. I mean, it literally is like kind of a joke in how much how much damage you can actually do during that encounter. And there we didn't get hit, so we could have gotten rid of these two, but we could have gone for gift prowess here to make and gift accelerator to make Chariot Rush come out exceptionally quick. But that is literally what you want to do, and you can do slash or pierce, but pierce works very well with the Impaler here, and just the sheer amount of crazy amount of increase in damage because of his weaknesses that we were able to pour on there. It makes for a great way to push him down into his grave very fast. So anyways, I know this was a long one, guys. Sorry about that, but the Boreal Brute, he's definitely a worthy enemy and deserves all the time. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we'll be on to another mini boss tomorrow, the Boreal Savage. We'll see you then.